On the night of 5th April 2026, 14 Navy SEALs crossed a 7,000 feet ridgeline inside Iran. Keep it down. They were looking for one man, a U.S. Air Force colonel who had been hiding in a mountain crevice for 36 hours, armed with a pistol and a beacon, with an IRGC division closing in around him. What followed has been described by the U.S. military itself as one of the most complex rescue operations in American history. This is not a simulation. This is a reconstruction of what actually happened, built from official statements, military sources, and verified reporting from the New York Times, CNN, Stars and Stripes, and ABC News. The F-15E Strike Eagle has a crew of 2. A pilot and a weapons systems officer, the man responsible for every bomb that leaves the aircraft. On the night of 3rd April, the weapons systems officer aboard Dude 44 was a colonel with over 2 decades of combat experience. He knew U.S. strike frequencies, allied coordination protocols, and the precise architecture of American bombing campaigns over Iran, alive and in Iranian hands. That knowledge was worth more to Tehran than anything they had destroyed in 6 weeks of war. At 2200 local time over Isfahan province, an Iranian SAM detonated within lethal proximity of his aircraft. Both crew members ejected into the dark. The pilot landed east of the impact zone. A daytime HH-60 Pave Hawk retrieved him within 6 hours, taking small arms fire during extraction. Injured, but alive and in Kuwait before daybreak. The weapons systems officer landed west, directly into the Zagros Mountains. He hit the ground with a fractured leg from the ejection impact. 1 Sig Sauer M18, a survival kit, a personal recovery beacon. He made the decision that, according to the New York Times, almost certainly saved his life. He began restricting his beacon to short, irregular bursts, reducing the signal profile that Iranian triangulation teams needed to find him. Then, on a broken leg, in complete darkness, he started climbing. Over the next 8 hours, the colonel scaled 2,100 meters of loose shale ridgeline. At the summit, he found a rock crevice barely large enough to conceal his body. He crawled inside. He would hold that position for 28 more hours. Iran's response was immediate. State media broadcast wreckage footage before dawn. The IRGC understood exactly what a living American colonel represented, and within hours, a division-scale manhunt was mobilizing across Isfahan and Chaharmahal provinces. The colonel knew they were coming. He could hear vehicles in the valley below. He kept the beacon on its shortest burst cycle and stayed inside the rock. 2,000 kilometers away, the CIA had already started working on his behalf. What happened next was not one operation. It was 2, running simultaneously, and both had to work perfectly. The CIA moves first. The agency activates what officials later described, music, as unconventional assisted recovery. A covert network inside Iran capable of providing real-time intelligence on IRGC unit movements. Simultaneously, confirmed by Axios and ABC News, CIA deploys specialized signals technology to locate the colonel's beacon in terrain that had defeated standard satellite tracking. They find him. Then comes the deception. And this is confirmed by multiple US officials across every major outlet that covered the operation. The CIA feeds false intelligence into Iranian information networks. Music, American forces have already extracted the colonel via a ground convoy moving east towards the border. The IRGC command, under pressure, operating with degraded communications after 6 weeks of strikes, redirects a significant portion of its ground search forces toward a phantom route that leads nowhere. It buys the hours that do not exist anywhere else. The rescue package is built around SEAL Team 6. Officially, the Naval Special Warfare Development Group, DEVGRU, the same unit that conducted Abadan in 2011. The New York Times, CNN, and Stars and Stripes all confirmed they've grew as the primary ground recovery element. Delta Force operators and Army Rangers. Stage in Kuwait on standby, ready to reinforce the moment conditions on the ground change. Aviation belongs to the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment. The Night Stalkers, MC-130J Combat Talon 2s will carry the SEAL element into Iranian airspace at low altitude. Our 6 Little Bird helicopters provide close support at the objective. Overhead, MQ-9 Reaper drones, music, have maintained a protective bubble over the colonel's position for 2 days, with authorization to strike any Iranian ground force that music enters the engagement threshold. A deserted airstrip 50 kilometers south of Isfahan is confirmed via satellite as the extraction point. Engineers assess it can support a fully loaded MC-130J. The assessment looks solid. It is wrong. If this mission has your attention, subscribe to Operation Fury. We reconstruct real combat operations every week. At 0 to 55 local time on 5th April, the package launches. 155 aircraft are now active in the operational theater. Fighters, electronic warfare platforms, refueling tankers, Reapers, and special operations transports cycling in coordinated waves across a 50 kilometers radius. Stars and Stripes describes American forces sustaining unbroken coverage over a single point on an Iranian mountainside for more than 50 consecutive music hours. That is what 155 aircraft looks like in music practice. Not a strike, but a sustained presence. Aircraft handing off to aircraft, maintaining a perimeter that never goes dark. The two MC-130Js cross into Iranian airspace at low altitude, below the detection threshold of surviving radar installations. Inside, the SEAL Team's 6 ground element, Night Stalker crews, and Air Force combat controllers who will manage the aerial fire that keeps everyone alive at the objective. The Reapers have been working this ridgeline for 2 days. CENTCOM confirms MQ-9's expended munitions on approaching Iranian units more than 60 times during the operational window. Every patrol that closed within engagement distance of the colonel's position was struck before reaching him, hiding 2,100 meters above the valley floor. The colonel could hear the impacts below. He later described them as the sound of people trying to keep him alive. The MC-130s set down on the Isfahan airstrip at 0347. The SEAL element deploys and moves towards the ridgeline. Loose shale, steep switchbacks, zero ambient light, full combat load plus a medical package for a trauma patient with a fractured leg. At operational tempo in that terrain, reaching the summit takes 90 minutes. At 0510, the lead element makes visual contact. The colonel is alive, dehydrated, fractured leg, 36 hours of evasion at altitude with no sleep. He is still holding the M18 when they reach him. The plan is clean. Load the colonel and the full ground element onto both MC-130Js. Launch for Kuwait. Mission complete. The Night Stalker crews are on the radio. The extraction window is tight, but workable. The first MC-130 throttles up. The aircraft does not move. This detail is confirmed by the Wall Street Journal, ABC News, and Stars and Stripes. The airstrip, sandy, packed under the weight of the aircraft on landing, has given way beneath the main landing gear. Both MC-130Js have sunk to their axles. The ground element attempts to dig the aircraft out by hand, then with equipment pulled from inside the planes. After 90 minutes, the assessment is final. The birds cannot be freed. At the same moment, Iranian field commanders, growing skeptical of the convoy deception, have redirected quick reaction forces towards the airstrip. Satellite imagery shows armored vehicles and troop carriers less than 18 kilometers out. And closing, the SEAL element has a wounded, non-ambulatory colonel, 2 disabled aircraft, a closing enemy force, and replacement transport still 40 minutes away. The rescue is not failing, but it is about to become something much harder than anyone planned for. Delta Force activates from Kuwait. CNN confirms both Delta Force and SEAL Team 6 among the hundreds of special operations personnel committed to this operation. The reserve element is airborne immediately, but additional aircraft are 40 minutes out. The IRGC force is 18 kilometers out. That math does not close without air. The combat controllers move through both disabled MC-130Js with demolition packages. What follows is documented across multiple outlets. American forces destroy their own aircraft systematically. Avionics, communication systems, cryptographic equipment, navigation packages. Everything classified is rendered inoperable before Iranian hands can reach it. According to the Wall Street Journal, 6 Little Bird helicopters at the Strip are destroyed. The same way, 2 MC-130J Combat Talon 2s and 4 Special Operations helicopters are burning on an Iranian airstrip. Not shot down, not captured, deliberately destroyed by the crews who flew them in. The United States Air Force just burned millions of dollars in aircraft to ensure that not one circuit board survives the night. The full SEAL element, the colonel, and the recovery force moved 2 kilometers north to a secondary holding position. Higher elevation, defensible ground, observation coverage of every approach route. The colonel is non-ambulatory. They are carrying him, and then they wait. For the next 90 minutes, the United States military held a mountain in Iran. The SEAL element established a defensive perimeter around the colonel's position. He was on the ground, fractured leg, watching his operators work. The Reapers fired continuously on every Iranian unit that entered the approach corridor. The Wall Street Journal confirmed MQ-9s struck Iranian ground forces more than 60 times across the 50-hour operational window. The A-10s held the roads below. Delta Force was still 20 minutes out. The replacement MC-130Js were still 40 minutes out. The IRGC was 8 kilometers away and on foot after their lead vehicles were destroyed. Every minute of those 90 minutes, someone in that perimeter was making a decision about when to shoot. The Reapers take the IRGC convoy under observation at the 12 kilometers threshold. Lead vehicles are destroyed. The column halts. Iranian commanders call for additional ground forces and air support. The A-10 Thunderbolt IIs respond, redeployed north from the Hormuz corridor. The Warthogs begin systematic suppression of every approach route to the airstrip, hitting vehicle concentrations, weapons positions, and the road infrastructure the IRGC needs to reach the secondary position. The GAU-8 cannon at low altitude in a mountain valley at night is a sound Iranian ground forces will not forget. At 9:32, a US airstrike hits a command vehicle near Mahyar. This is confirmed by Iranian sources and cross-referenced by stars and stripes. Brigadier General Masoud Zare, commander of the Iranian Army Air Defense College, the officer coordinating ground forces across the province, is killed in the strike. His death fractures the IRGC's coordinated response. Iranian units begin operating without centralized direction. The window opens. Which element do you think was most critical to this mission? The SEAL Team 6 ground element, the CIA deception, or the air support that held the IRGC back? Drop your answer in the comments. At 9:21, the replacement aircraft arrive. 2 MC-130Js set down on hard-packed ground 2 kilometers north of the original strip. A secondary surface confirmed by aerial reconnaissance during the wait. Load begins immediately. The SEAL element boards in tactical sequence. The colonel boards last. Both aircraft launch under fire. One surface-to-air missile launch is defeated by onboard countermeasures. An IRGC element reaches the secondary strip as the rear ramp seals on the trailing aircraft. The Reapers engage it. before it closes to effective range. At 9:48, both aircraft exit Iranian airspace. On the original airstrip, two MC-130Js and four little birds are still burning. 4 minutes after the aircraft crossed into Kuwaiti airspace, Trump posted 4 words on Truth Social. "We got him." The colonel was on a stretcher at Al Salem Air Base. Fractured leg, dehydrated, 36 hours of evasion at altitude. He still had the M18 on his hip. That is the image the operation ends on. Not burning aircraft, not a general's command vehicle destroyed in Isfahan. One American officer, alive on friendly soil, still armed. That is what 155 aircraft and 339 munitions look like when they work. The pilot had been recovered within hours of the shootdown. The weapons systems officer required surgery at Al Salem. According to military sources, he is expected to return to flight status. Now consider what Iran actually gained from shooting down that aircraft. They displayed wreckage on state television. They broadcast images of burning U.S. aircraft on the Isfahan airstrip. Aircraft that American forces destroyed themselves deliberately to protect technology Iran never touched. They confirmed the death of Brigadier General Masoud Zare, their own general, killed during the operation. Their division-scale manhunt across two provinces involving thousands of personnel produced nothing. Iran shot down one F-15E. The United States responded with 100 special operations personnel, 155 aircraft, the full intelligence architecture of the CIA, a multi-day deception campaign, and Delta Force staged on standby in Kuwait. They got their colonel back. Iran got 3 of its own killed trying to stop them. The comparison the Iranian military chose to invoke, Operation Eagle Claw 1980, is instructive. Eagle Claw ended with 8 Americans dead, 5 aircraft destroyed, and the hostages left behind. It became the defining image of American military failure in Iran for a generation. The operation of 5th April 2026 ended with both crew members alive, 0 American fatalities, and the enemy's coordinating general dead. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's authorization for the mission, as reported across multiple outlets, was 4 words. "Go get our boy." What the rescue of Dude 44 tells you is not complicated. The United States will follow you into a mountain range inside a hostile nation in the middle of an active war with 100 operators and the better part of 200 aircraft to bring back 1 person, 1 colonel, 1 crew member. That willingness is not just a humanitarian principle. It is a signal to every allied pilot who straps into a cockpit over Iran about exactly what the United States is prepared to spend on their behalf. The ceasefire agreed on 7th April gives both sides 2 weeks. When those 2 weeks end, US forces will face a decision about one city in southern Iran that has been quietly on the target list since February. Abadan is the largest oil refinery complex in the Middle East. It is Iran's last economic lifeline still standing. And it is next. Subscribe to Operation Fury and hit the bell. The Abadan scenario drops next. See you on the next operation.